What's up guys, and welcome back to another Geeky Gecko Creations episode. In this video we're going to continue our holdback series and move on to section number 2. Now I think I have somewhere between like 7 and 10 sections to cover. We may blend some of those sections together, but you're going to see some really cool animals in this video. It will be a surprise to me as much as it is a surprise to you, because I don't know what I'm plucking, like I said last video. So if you did miss last video, we did do a pretty cool holdback video. I'll leave that here in the top right corner. Also, I want to announce we officially have our Gotta Collect 'Em All t-shirt collection on our website. This is just the first rendition of the Gotta Collect 'Em All series. I plan to have a black knight leopard gecko, a yellow leopard gecko, but first I wanted to get Charmander, Charizard mixed with the tangerine, red dragon type leopard gecko on there. The Pokeball is capturing the gecko. It's just really cool in my opinion. Got Charizard there. We also have a toothless edition on the website now, so if either of those interest you, please go over there. And without further ado, let's get the geckos rolling. Alright, now Super Hypo Mandarin Inferno Tangerine is one of our pinnacle kind of cornerstone projects over here. So we are always looking to replace females that have been breeding for 4 to 5 seasons, because leopard gecko females, their production starts lowering and stuff after like 4 to 5 years, so it is best to keep backups on hand. And even though this little one right here might not be the most super orange one, it does come from a great lineage, and a lineage that is capable of producing red dragons as well as fire tangerines and just like the most reddish orange stuff. So trust in the genetics, know your bloodlines, and you can get S tier animals even from just A or B tier breeders. So we'll say goodbye to this little one and check out who's next. Okay, this little gecko right here is from our Mandarin Inferno crossed into our clown bloodlines, and I have this listed as a spider red stripe. So if you remember from our last video, a normal red stripe are these bright orange lines going straight down the back, but sometimes you will have lines that kind of branch out sideways, almost like highway exit ramps or on ramps onto the highway. And so you can see some of those orange marker lines that have started to spider web off, as I call them. And because of that, that can create for some really cool projects in the future. Her color is not the most orange, but again, we can always work on color. And if we pair her to like a super reddish orange male or something like that, and then she passes on the red stripe, specifically the spider web kind of pattern of the red stripe, then we should get some pretty cool offspring. She also has some nice green on her head, some very nice white lips, and white belly, which just gives the animal a very kind of clean look to her. You can see just how white and distinctive that line is between the color and non-color, and how white her belly is. Sometimes I don't know how to explain it. Some geckos just have a much cleaner pattern. Even if they are not white and yellow, they will have a lighter and brighter pattern, and they will just have a lot of clear contrast between the non-color zones, which would be like the white belly, and then the color zones, which would be the rest of the body creeping in. Okay, now this little one right here just has some nice coloration and some mixes of colors going on, and you can never go wrong with that. Again, like I said at the beginning of this video, you always want to be holding back females for breeders, because males can breed forever, but females can only breed for 4 to 5 years if you even get that out of them. Because once something goes wrong with a female, if she's ever egg bound, or sometimes they get like just irritation in their bellies after a couple breeding seasons, and then they will no longer produce for you, or not reliably. So you always need to be holding on to females that can help you in your different project lines. And so this girl comes from our Mandarin and Bold project lines, and she just has a little bit of lightness, brightness to her. She also has some nice green coloration, as you can see there, and because of that, I know that she has the power-packed potential inside of her to produce some really awesome stuff, especially when paired to an awesome male. Alright, so here's a giant female girl leopard gecko, and we do have a decent amount, I would say, of giants, but again, you always need to be holding back, especially females. And so this was just one of the offspring I decided to hold back for our specifically tangerine and green project in the blood tangerine bloodlines. So we work a ton with Mandarin Inferno, And then recently, through a couple different high-end collections we've acquired, we've come across some high-end blood tangerines, as well as like purple head tangerines. So those are two other lines of tangerine that I'll be mixing in with our Mandarin and Inferno stuff, just for some diversity of DNA, diversity of pattern, all that cool stuff. But bloods bring in a lot of green color, just like Mandarin and Inferno does. So the project blends together really well across all three bloodlines. And so you can see the level of green on this one is just a noticeable amount higher than your average gecko, and she's a giant, and I need to be holding back some giants, so I did decide to hold on to her as well. All right, you can see red stripe is definitely something that I really enjoy around here. So the reason I like red stripe is because red stripes typically are brighter and more vivid in color than a normal leopard gecko. So along with the red stripe kind of pattern that goes down their back, they also tend to have more just oomph to them and more eye-catching, eye-popping coloration. And so this one right here is just listed as a normal red stripe, not a spider one. You can see a little bit of like kind of zigzag of the red stripes down here by the base, but it doesn't actually spider off and break off and like go down the sides of the body like the gecko at the beginning of this video did. So just another red stripe, just another cool red stripe to hold back. And again, I know her power-packed potential because of her lineage and the bloodlines that she comes from. Even if she's not super orange herself, she can definitely produce some fire stuff. All right, like my shirt, you know I love my Charmanders, Charmeleon, Charizard type lizards, and so this one definitely fits into that category. It's just another female that's a super hypo Mandarin Inferno. She has decent color to her, and all you need is a female like this that has decent color, and you could pair her to an outstanding male. So like on the tier list of colors for tangerine, I might consider her like an A or B tier as far as her level of saturation, but she's certainly capable of producing S tiers. And so, like my first video said, quantity produces quality. Not all the time will you get quality geckos from a quality gecko, but when you breed enough offspring, your chances of producing quality animals goes up, even if you are using A or B tier animals to try and produce S tier animals. You will get some S tier animals popping out and a good mix of like A's and B's and all that kind of stuff. So there's always natural variance and natural selection that is going on in the gecko's DNA, even if you have two outstanding animals. So I look at it as like an insurance clause. When you're breeding more animals, you have a higher likelihood of producing more higher end animals. Okay, this girl right here is definitely a step up from the last girl. And she's also what I call like a sleeper red stripe. So you almost can't even see the red stripe underneath her skin right there. It just kind of looks like there's brightness and vividness going on her back. But once you've seen enough red stripes, they just kind of have this look, an eye-popping look to them. And so even though it's really hard to tell where her red stripe is, once you've seen enough red stripes, you can kind of know the signs to look for and the coloration patterns, even if the stripe is hiding a little bit. Now, I will help you guys out right here. If you look at the base of her neck, you can kind of see the two red stripes that are branching out from both sides of that kind of pale line. You can see the red stripes that are branching out, and then they kind of end like right behind her shoulder blades, and then it's hard to see them from that point forward. But they do continue on, and if you were to look really carefully, you can kind of lightly see the outlined pattern of the stripes going all the way down her back. And man, she is a little mover. Now, she also is part of our white lip project. So you can see she has some very nice white lips, very nice white belly, very nice contrast, two-tone contrast between the top of the torso and then the belly kind of leaning in right there. You can see a lot of just really beautiful, stark contrast. And she has a lot of like reddish orange tones to her, so she would be great for any tangerine project, especially our red dragon and fire tangerine projects. I just want to get a shot of her with Charmander and Charizard over here because I just think it's so cool. All right, now if you remember me talking about my banded tiger project in the last video, it is basically where there are stripes of orange, green, orange, green, orange, green. Do you see that? So there's like, so it starts with green up here. So it's green, orange, green, orange, green, orange, green, orange, green, and then it goes into the orange of the carrot tail. So you can see that distinction between oranges and greens, and I want to accentuate that over time, embolden that, and make it even more distinct than it already is. So this is our banded tiger project, not to be confused with our tiger project, which is orange, purple, orange, purple, orange. You can see more about that in the last video that I made. There was a lot of really nice holdback tigers in the last video, and we have even more nice holdback tigers coming up in maybe this video or definitely other holdback videos, because I know I held back more regular tigers. Okay, just a quick shot of a normal tangerine, white and yellow, emerine leopard gecko. Nothing too special about this one as far as like the intensity of her colors. You can see she's not like super orange, but because she is tangerine, because she is white and yellow, because she comes from a heavy packed lineage of tangerine bloodlines, if you were to pair her to a very nice tangerine male, which we have some very nice tangerine males, then you will get some very nice tangerine white and yellows. All right, if you watched our last video, you know that I am holding back a lot of Raptors, which stands for red-eyed, albino, patternless, Tremper albino orange leopard gecko. It's a cool acronym, but basically it is, at its core, it is basically a Tremper albino eclipse, and most of the time Raptors will have tangerine in there as well, just because it was all kind of mixed in a long time ago when those projects were kind of kicking off. So she is a little light sensitive because she is albino and eclipse, but you can kind of see the little bit of the coloration and the shadedness in her eyes. And I just wanted to point out to you, when you get those stripes on babies that go straight down the middle of the back, that is called reverse stripe. That oftentimes comes with eclipse project animals, and most of the time, 9 times out of 10, those stripes will not stay into adulthood unless you have a refined bloodline for many generations that has been working on keeping that stripe into adulthood. So you can see a little bit of that reverse stripe remaining on this gecko. And there are other bloodlines and projects way further along that I can mix this with if I wanted to get solid stripe backed animals even into adulthood. That's not super on my to-do list, but it was one thing that I noticed about this gecko is it will be good for breeding reverse stripe animals that hold their striping all the way into adulthood, since she already has a little bit of that striping that is held into adulthood. Okay, just a small note on Raptor, and because this one's not albino, it should look right at the camera and we should get a perfect cross-eyed shot of a snake eye leopard gecko. So what is a snake eye leopard gecko? Let's show you. They kind of have this funky look to them. Let's see if we can get her to look at the camera. She's a little camera shy right now, but when you look at them straight on, they kind of have this dorky look to them. Look at that right there. They look like they're cross-eyed or something, and that is because the gecko is a snake eye. So if you look on one side, it's 50-50, and if you look on the other side, it's 50-50. That is called snake eye eclipse in the hobby. And one thing that I want to do is, if you breed snake eyes to snake eyes only, can you sustain a line that produces only snake eyes? Because the eclipse eye mutation is very random. It doesn't seem like you are able to necessarily predict what like eye shading you're going to get. You're either going to get partial, half, or whole eye shading. But one little like side note study that I want to make is, if you breed whole eyes to whole eyes, can you produce a line that only produces whole eyes over time? And same with like snake eyes. Since snake eyes are pretty cool, it will be nice to be somewhat predictable or manageable in a specific project or bloodline. And that is pretty crazy looking at the little gecko upside down. Hi, little one. All right, this is a very cool cheetah project animal, a yellow cheetah, because as discussed in my last holdback video, we will have orange cheetahs, yellow cheetahs, and yellow orange cheetahs. So this one has a little bit of orange to it, but for the most part, this would be like down the yellow bloodlines. And it's also part of our owl project. So the owl project is a project where we get those circles on the top of the head right there to look like owl eyes looking at you. And we want to see if we can produce a line of those consistently to where all the babies will have something similar to that. And similar to bold stripe, I think that's possible with enough line breeding. And so I think it's just kind of like a fun side project that I will be working on over here. Here's just another example of the cheetah project. And you can see this one has a little bit more greens, oranges, and yellows. But because of the wild type DNA in there, the Turkmenicus DNA, it just creates some awesome kind of speculation. And you can see sometimes they are a bit jumpy because of that wild type subspecies DNA in there. But it's good for the bloodlines, it's good for the pattern diversification, it's just good for the hobby all in general. All right, so we have another little tangerine-ish animal right here that has like speckling of red. So it just has like red kind of patternation, just kind of going throughout the body of the animal. And so that lets you know as a breeder that this animal is capable of some very saturated tones of color. And if you breed it to a male leopard gecko that is like solid reddish orange or solid in color, you can create some very nice offspring between the two. And this is just an example of one of those like more solid reddish orange geckos that we have. And this boy is kind of old already. He was the star of this video here, I'll leave in the top right corner, but he has some very deep and saturated tones. And when a gecko gets older and has been through a lot of pairings and a lot of breeding like this boy has, their color will diminish a little bit. That happens with all tangerine leopard geckos, usually by the time they are like 2 years old or older. But this guy has held some very nice red coloration. You could even see it into his head right there. And so I hope the camera's able to pick it up, but I am very confident in the strength of this guy. So much so that I even started specifically tracking the babies that come from him specifically. And then we have more patternless non-albino versions that are kind of like this reddish orange color, similar to this boy, that would make great pairings for the girl shown before these two boys. But that fire boy that I showed right before this guy, he is an excellent boy. It's hard to show off tangerines once they're past their prime because they usually look nowhere near as nice as they did when they were under 2 years old. But as the breeder, that's where knowing your collection, your animals, your lineage comes in, so that you can know the power of that bloodline, and you can always keep an eye out for animals that retain their color a little bit longer. This little one right here comes from those same kind of bloodlines as the last two leopard geckos that I showed, and she just also has this like bright, vivid, almost like solar flare red kind of shooting off the middle of her spine. And so she's definitely got some reddish orange tones to her, so she would go good with either our fire project or red dragon project. And she's kind of one of those sleeper red stripes as well, because you can't really see the red stripes too much, but once you've seen enough red stripes, you kind of know the other telltale signs of what makes a red stripe. And so she just has that look to her. She's definitely a red stripe, at least in my judgment. And so we will be pairing her to potentially like red dragon project, fire project, or any red stripe project would do well for her. It's also worth mentioning to watch my red stripe video, which I will leave in the top right corner here, because if you don't know about red stripe, it seems to be something that is random. It can come from animals that are not red stripe, and if you breed animals together that are red stripe, you're not going to produce all red stripes. You might not produce any red stripes. So I do wonder if we can get some genetic testing one day to help us understand what is going on with red stripe. Maybe it's pairing with a different allele, or it's pairing with like a different set of genes that makes that expression kind of pop out. And unless that full combination is there, it won't pop out. I don't know what's going on. I haven't heard anybody really come up with an explanation for it in the hobby, other than they exist. and you get them sometimes out of tangerines, especially tangerine bloodlines that are known to produce them. I don't think they've ever just randomly popped out of like a tangerine bloodline that has never produced them, but that's certainly something to study. And I definitely look forward to hopefully genetic testing with leopard geckos helping us to understand more about these little guys. A lot of the red stripes will have cleaner faces and lips. So you can see with most solid orange body leopard geckos, their lips will be solid orange as well. But once you start getting red stripes and stuff like that, a lot of times their lips will be white, kind of, and their bellies will be very white, kind of giving them this nice like two-tone look to them as far as like a very white pale belly and then color. So pretty cool. All right, this is the first boy of this bunch, and he is actually one of our very few white and yellow tigers. So the tiger project came from Mandarin Inferno Turkmenicus, and then it was also bred into bold, which is where the white and yellow comes from, because that's where the white and yellow in our projects line comes from, our bold, hyperxanthic, and marine type stuff. And so this was one of those outcrossed animals that hit on the white and yellow gene. And the tiger, again, point of the tiger is to have those bluish, lavenderish, kind of purplish areas in between the base color of the animal. So the base color of this animal is a yellowish orange, and then you have like those purple bands with the spots in there, and then base color band, base color band. So you can kind of see how the animal has this banded type look to it. And so the tiger project is purple, orange, whereas the banded tiger project is green, orange. So anyway, the first video shows off many more examples of this. If you want to check that out again, that video will be linked and in the top right corner. Okay, you can see the faith that I have in these bloodlines because I am holding back a lot of animals that have like this speckling of reddish orange color. And again, the reason is because even though this is not the ultimate look that I would like to reproduce, because this girl comes from a very orange background and she has a lot of tangerine in her DNA, since she has those like reddish orange spots on her, when I breed her to a fire or red dragon boy, like I showed earlier in this video, that's when you can get some really, really amazing stuff. She also has some nice greens popping out, but she's mainly being kept for her reddish orange spots. All right, I think we will do 9 more, guys, and we will call it a day. So this is a Mandarin Inferno Bold White and Yellow. And again, this animal has a decent amount of tangerine DNA in it, but then also it has the white and yellow gene because it was mixed into our bold and marine lines. You can see some of that like greenish coloration going on her. I wonder if she's eclipse too. I'm checking because she's kind of light in color. No, she's not eclipse. She may be het eclipse. And sometimes you will see the influence of het eclipse. You can see on her feet and her elbow right there how she kind of has like whitish feet and an elbow, but she's also white and yellow, so that can also just be causing for a little bit of the high white to ride up. But in this project and lineage is the eclipse gene, so I wouldn't be surprised if she is het eclipse. But she is a white and yellow, so when we pair her to like a red dragon or something, she's going to produce some very nice tangerine white and yellows. All right, this is a clown blood emerine mandarin. So we got a couple different tangerine bloodlines in here and quite a few different emerine lines because clown has emerine, blood has emerine, and mandarin has emerine. And so there's a lot of green bloodlines in this animal, and rightly so. You can definitely tell by looking at her. I mean, look at her head. Her head is like this bright neon green, and then you could also see some green on her body, and she's specifically being kept back because she has these like nice deeper saturated tones in between the greens, and so she'll be put into some kind of green project and or maybe even a white and yellow project, or just like a nice high-end tangerine project, and she'll produce some amazing stuff. So this little girl is both tangerine, white and yellow, and eclipse. So you can see the white and yellow and the eclipse having an effect on the white feet, the white elbows right there. A lot of times eclipse will bring white into the tip of the nose or the tip of the tail, or sometimes deeper into the body, like up the arms. Let's see if we can get this little one to show off her pretty eyes. You can kind of see she has one snake eye on this left side, it looks like. Right there, you can kind of see a little bit. And then on the right side, she only has a small little partial shading of the eye on the right side. But the left side, she has the snake eye. And that's what I mean about eclipse, is that it seems completely randomized. I mean, deeper than we can understand, right? There might be something to what produces a partial eye eclipse versus a snake eye eclipse versus a full moon eclipse, you know, in the eyes. There might be something to that, but we definitely don't know the answer to that right now. All right, this girl, I literally just wrote interesting. I wrote on her tub interesting. So she comes from an ultra big pairing. So I have some geckos that are just really larger than average, and that doesn't even mean that they're giants or super giants. So she was I had her mom was an ultra big female, and she was bred to Mandarin blood clown, and she is a Tremper albino. She has this really thick and cool kind of circular pattern on her head, and just the way that she looks is really, really interesting. There is no white and yellow in this pairing, but she looks white and yellow. Like I said, sometimes you will get tangerine bloodline animals that just have this extra level of like brightness to them, and maybe her mom was an unknown white and yellow, so her mom I acquired from another high-end breeder. And sometimes white and yellow can kind of hide in there, especially if you're breeding bold lines and stuff like that. So maybe the mom was like a low expression white and yellow or something, and we didn't realize it. But I'm never disappointed with white and yellow, because I do think that it makes almost every project better, and this is a telltale sign. You could just kind of see. It almost looks like she has like the Mortal Kombat sign on the top of her head or something. Really cool. All right, we got 4 left, guys. Let's see if you can identify all the traits in this one. Let me give you 10 seconds to see if you can identify the traits. Look at the lips, look at the back, look at the general color, and let's go. So this comes from our Mandarin Inferno bloodlines, which produces some very fire, nice stuff. And specifically, this girl is a red stripe. So remember, those red stripes going down the middle of the back. A lot of times, the red stripe will be accompanied by this pasty, clear kind of stripe going down the middle. But if you look closely, the bright red is on both sides of that middle line. So the middle line is not the red stripe, it's the bright red that straddles both sides of the middle line. So this is a red stripe, obviously a tangerine from our Mandarin Inferno bloodlines. And the reason I said look at the lips is because this comes from our white lip project and lines as well. So we have a certain group of geckos over here that have white lips. And again, if you missed my first video, the goal of the white lip project is to continue to take away white from the lips on the bottom of the gecko as well as the top of the gecko, eventually working all the way back towards the back of the head and neck of the gecko, so that you can have an all orange body and an all white face. How cool would that be? All right, guys, we got 3 left for this video. And if we've been through the morph before, I'm just gonna kind of breeze through it. So you can see this one right here, Mandarin Inferno, 100% het Tremper albino, has some reddish orange tones, some nice green tones. It is a girl. If this was a boy, I would definitely not keep this one because she is not super colorful. But because she's a girl, if I have 10 girls that are like this and I breed them to one boy that is like an S tier tangerine, the amount of S tier babies that pop out of that and A tier babies that pop out of that will be outstanding. And so it is definitely worth, as a breeder, holding back animals like this that are more like B tier, so that you can breed it to an animal that's S tier, and then you'll get a bunch of really nice stuff. All right, here's a really good example of the spider web red stripe. So I'm sure by now you guys can see the red stripes going down the middle of the back, right? Again, there's the telltale pale line going down the middle of the back, and then the red coloration, reddish orange coloration straddling and kind of going down the back. And then at certain points on this gecko's back, it spider webs off like the off ramp of a highway. It goes this way, it goes that way, and right here it goes that way. So there are down here at the base of the tail too. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exit ramps. There's 5 spider webs, 5 exit ramps on this gecko's red stripe pattern. And so, of course, this one's not super orange. It's got decent orange coloration, nice orange to the tail, but it's really the spider web that I kept this one for. And I want to breed it to other spider web red stripes, or also just, you know, like a fire or red dragon tangerine, and see if we can increase the color and increase the vividness and boldness of those red stripes so that it kind of looks like red lightning bolts zigzagging across the gecko's body. Okay, and this one right here was another female red dragon that I really wanted to keep, but as a business, you have to make money to support the business. And so I was like, I'm going to list her on the website at such and such price. And if somebody gets her, then okay, it's worth it for me to let it go. And then I was really going back and forth on letting her go. But the person who purchased her, I've really looked up to for a while, and I appreciate their hard work and dedication in the reptile hobby. Maybe you will see her in their video soon, but I was like, okay, I will let her go. She's not as red as the first one I was showing a second ago, but she's pretty good, like a red, she's a really nice reddish orange blend color, and she's gonna do amazing for him over there. And while they were at it, the same person asked me if I had any Black Knights, and I was like, you know what? I actually do have a couple that I'm getting ready to add to the website. And so this is an almost perfect S-tier Black Knight. You can see as I get a little bit closer, there's a little bit of pattern shining through, but I'm actually using flash right now, and the light is really, really bright, and you can see this animal still looks pitch black. So superb animal. I love the Black Knights and their beautiful faces. So even though this one is not a holdback, this is the caliber of Black Knight that we are shooting to produce as much as we can through our Obsidian Black Knight project lines, as well as every Black Knight project that we have. He also got this S-tier Black Knight as well. Now the other one is a little darker and more velvety, so I did label it as a high S-tier, almost perfect S-tier. And this one has just a little bit more pattern showing through and not as dark as the other one. So this one is a low S-tier. But if you haven't seen our Black Knight rating video, I'll leave that video in the top right corner here, and it will go over with you what a S-tier is, what an A-tier is, B, C, and D tier. And both of them are only 75% original line Black Knight. And why I say original line Black Knight is because when breeding the Black Knights, you have to outcross. They've been inbred for so long that in the most inbred ones, occasionally you will see a little bit of fertility issues, as well as just overall they are about 10% smaller than your average leopard gecko. So if a normal female maxes out around 55 to 65 grams, a Black Knight female is going to be anywhere from 45 to 55 grams. Usually more around the 45 to 50 gram mark. And that's just from inbreeding so long to get them this beautiful and this dark. Now that's not a huge sacrifice, and most people don't really mind that they are a little bit smaller. They just want a little toothless, right? They just want a little dragon. But for longevity of the bloodline and health of the animals, it is better to have animals that are more outcrossed and still dark than less outcrossed and dark. So here's a quick example. If you could choose between an animal that was this dark and only 75% original line Black Knight with 25% new DNA, or an animal that's this dark and is 100% original line Black Knight with no outcrossing and no new DNA, a lot of people think 100% must be better because it's 100%, right? Wrong. If you could get a 75% Black Knight, which you can, watch my other video here in the top right corner where I talk about how to produce pitch black Black Knights. You don't need 100% Black Knights to produce pitch black ones. So if you can accomplish a pitch black animal by using more outcrossed, fresher, healthier, and diverse DNA, you are going to be 10 times better off than not doing that. So the answer is it would be better to choose the 75% Black Knight that still is this dark over the 100% Black Knight that is this dark. All right, last but not least, this is actually a good one to end it on. Thank you, Lord. I'm so glad that we were able to have a good one to end it on. You can see the contrast of green and orange coloration in this gecko very vividly. The orange is more of this like burnt-ish orange, deeper orange color. This is just a Mandarin Inferno. And I also listed this as one that would be good for our banded tiger project. Remember, orange, green is the banded tiger project, and you can clearly see those bands on this little one right here. A lot of green on the head, and green is one of my favorite colors to work with leopard geckos, and so I could literally throw this gecko into a green project or a tangerine project or a tiger project, right? And it would do fantastic and amazing. So definitely a good one to end it on. Let's bring her here with us for the outro of this video. I'm so thankful to you guys that you came along for another video, especially if you made it this far in the video. So I just want to give you a special thanks. Again, we will have these collect them all t-shirts now available on the website. There is currently a toothless version on there right now. And then I think the next version will be a Black Knight leopard gecko in a Pokemon style theme. And then I have to pick a Pokemon to put on the shirt, right? So for an orange gecko, Charizard is the one that I picked. I considered Charmander, I considered Charmeleon, but to me Charizard looked the best mixed with the leopard gecko, and then the leopard gecko could kind of be like Charmander, and then this is like the evolved version, so it kind of just goes, right? Now, if we have a black leopard gecko, comment below what black Pokemon would you like to see here. There's a black shiny Charizard. There are, I don't know, other dark themed dragon-like or dinosaur-like Pokemon that are kind of like darker or black that I think would mix really well with the Black Knight. And I am going to be doing my research into that, but it would help me a lot if you throw some recommendations down below, because I'm sure there's like 100,000 Pokemon or something like that. There's probably like a ton of Pokemon, and I don't know if my research is going to show me every single one, or if I'm going to have time to consider every single one. Maybe Lugia, maybe there's like a dark Lugia or something. That would be cool. Lugia has like a rounded lizard-like face, kind of like a leopard gecko does too. So anyway, I'm open to your suggestions. They would help me get steam rolling in my research for what gecko would go good with a Black Knight up here mixed with what Pokemon down here. So thank you so much for joining us in this video. I hope you guys have a blessed day or week or weekend, whatever you're heading into. Check the website regularly. Feel free to text me 480-299-7657 if you have questions, if you need help with anything, if you're struggling in life. I care about you guys, and I want to be able to see you succeed, and I want to be able to see you have peace in your hearts, as well as find some really cool geckos. So if I can help in any of those ways, let me know. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, my friends, stay safe, pursue your reptile passion, and have a geeky gecko great day. Peace.